They're just Atlas is just like holding up. Yeah, in some ways, yes. Yeah.
So I don't want to get my hopes up there. I think, Rich, you got my my spidey senses tingling, and if that is the price,
I'm known to do that. I'm known to give the copy. I'm sorry about that.
It was good while it lasted. That whole 5 seconds of optimism I had.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the NerdNest podcast. I am your host, Bill Fairchild, and this is the podcast that you tune into each and every week to find out what is the video game news that's going on. We're talking PC, console, probably not mobile, but a bunch of other stuff. We have a ton of news to talk about, so much that the show notes, we're not going to get through all of it. And when I say we, I mean myself and my very good friend, Rich, a.k.a. Fan the Deck. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Ready to spend lots of money on a Steam machine, apparently.
Oh, yes. Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit for sure. And of course, we're also joined by Carrie, a.k.a. The Fox. What's going on, Carrie?
Hello, everyone. How's everyone? Hope TGIF. Well, for us.
TGIF. Right.
TGIS, I guess, because it'll be Sunday by the time people see that, but that's okay. And we have a special guest today, Mr. Sujano, who I've been watching for years. How you doing, Alan?
I'm good. I'm honored to be a part of the podcast. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So before we get into everything, can you just tell everybody about like what kind of stuff is usually on your channel?
News, and more news. Emulation, open source, gaming, tech. You want it, it's there.
But anyway, like we said before, we have a lot of stuff to talk about today. And the first thing is this story that I saw over on Reddit originally. It was originally on Reddit, it wasn't originally on Reddit. It was originally on some other website. Snappy.cz? Smarty.cz. And it is apparently the leaked price of the Steam machine. Now, here's what I have to say. Whenever I see a story like this, there's two questions that I think that I want to attack and think about. The first question that I always say when I see a story like this is it believable? The second question is, let's just assume that it's real. And if it's real, what do we think of it? Now, before we talk about why I think it's either believable or not believable and what we do think of it, let's talk about exactly what the story is. There's a Czech retailer that is listing the Steam Machine 512 gigabyte version. That's the cheaper version. And they have listed, they didn't actually put the price, but somebody was able to find the price on the system, I think by doing like one of those things where you inspect in the browser. And it says that the price is 19,826 CZK. I don't know what they call their money there. But roughly when you convert that to US dollars, that's $950 before tax. The 2 terabyte model, that's the more expensive one, is listed for 22,305 CZK, which is about 1,070 US dollars before tax. Now, the first question, like I said before, does this seem believable? I'm going to say it's not believable for two reasons. And the first reason that I think is Valve doesn't sell through this store. Like, this is not like Valve's store. Right now, Valve only sells in two places. They sell on Steam and they sell on, Rich, what's the region? Komodo region. They run it in regular stores on the Komodo region. The second reason that I don't really think that this is believable is because and I don't think anybody's faking anything, but what I think is some inventory systems, they just don't let you add items without a price. So maybe some employee just typed in a price. So let's start with that. Just does this seem believable and not actually talk about the price? Do you think that this is the real, do you think that this is a real listing and do you believe it? Not what do you think of it? So, Rich, I'm going to start with you. Do you think that this seems like that's how much it's going to be?
I think it's so unclear at this point, which I think is my problem with like how much people have run with this at this point. But it's completely unclear whether or not this is anything other than a placeholder. So to answer your question, it could be that this is not a placeholder and they somehow have real information and that this is the price that they're going to price it at. But there's so much more kind of nuance to that, right? So one thing that has been confirmed since then is that, yes, this is like other people have corroborated that this price is in the source code. So like you said, if you do an inspect element, you open up Chrome DevTools, something like that, you can see this price in that in that source code. The other thing that's been corroborated is that there is another Czech retailer, Alza, that has similar pricing. I don't know whether it's the exact same pricing, but it's similar pricing. And it's important to note that SmartECZ is a real retailer in Czech. And in fact, they sell Steam Decks today. And I assume, Bill, that was something probably you're going to lead up to, but not to, I guess, spoil, but like, yes, they sell Steam Decks as well. What's unclear to me is whether or not they're like an authorized retailer. My understanding is no, because of like what you said, Bill, that we haven't heard anything about any relationships other than Komodo. But one wrench I'll throw into that is that GameStop has an authorized relationship with Valve, and it's something that we haven't really heard about. So we heard about it a little bit when they were authorized to sell refurbished Steam Decks. But my understanding is that they've also sold in select stores, they've also sold brand new Steam Decks. Those have been spotted in the wild. So I don't know if that's something that they, got from the Valve site and then turned around. But given their authorized relationship for refurbished Steam Decks, I would be more keen to believe that this is a real relationship that GameStop has with Valve. It's just not been publicized very much.
Yeah. So, Alan, here's my question to you. Do you think that this is an actual relationship with Valve, or do you think that this is a company that is buying Steam Decks and then turning around to resell them? Like, what's your gut say?
It's a good question. It's a tough answer. I have mixed opinions on the matter. I don't necessarily think, like, Valve, even with their selling, I mean, they've been so non-middle company. It's just direct to consumer for a lot of their stuff. So I can't picture. I don't believe that there's a relationship there. I'll say that. It's I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong. But and with the article that you're even talking about, I mean, to tie that in, like, I would just argue that they're just there for promotion, just, get some notice in the media and whatnot. I can't. I can't see. I can't see Steam all of a sudden switching their sales model. It doesn't make sense. Maybe they are. I don't know. But they've already got something working decently well with the way they do the Steam Deck. I'd assume they do the Steam Machine the exact same way. And then the existing relationship, I don't know. If a company does have a relationship with Steam, they definitely not want to tarnish that.
Right.
So I don't know. I think there's too many unknowns right now. And I figured if we hear anything, it'd be from Steam first. I mean, even when the Steam Deck, I don't remember the Steam Deck pricing or anything leaking. It was locked up pretty tight beforehand, unless, Carrie, I think you were one of the first people I ever saw with the Steam Deck. Mm-hmm. Actually, you were the first person I saw with a Steam Deck. So it's,
I was one of the first. Yes.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if anything leaked. It just seems like they've got such a good job at, I mean, even Half-Life 3, which we can talk about later, but I mean, they've done such a good job at keeping stuff buttoned up. I don't know. I don't think so here. It's, I'm kind of all over the place with this one. I've got a lot of thoughts. So,
yeah, I think you nailed it in terms of just there's so many open questions, right? Like we asked, is Smarty an authorized retailer? We don't know in this case. I've seen feedback that they are, but it's unclear to me. Is this listing real, right? Like, do they have any real information that they're going to have Steam machines in stock and be able to sell them? Is the price real, or is it a placeholder price? And if the price, let's assume the price is real, what does that actually mean? Right.
Yeah.
So like the way so many folks have taken it is to just do the raw translation or the raw conversion, which, like you said, Bill, is 19,826 koruna. If you convert that to USD, it's 950 USD.
Can I jump in here real quick?
Sure.
When you are talking about whether it's a placeholder or whether it's a real price, like obviously not a real price from Valve, but a real price that's going to be on this website.
Right.
That is a weird number to type in if for a placeholder. You know what I mean? If I'm going to type in a placeholder, I'm hitting 999999999 and just walking away.
Yes. But I didn't look at the picture. So like they do have, for example, they do have a Steam Deck, that is like, on sale, right? Like they have a discount for it. And so like, I don't know, for example, if that number comes after you do like a 2% discount or something like that. I just speculation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that said, let's take that number, 19,826 koruna. Do you know how much the Steam Deck 1 terabyte OLED goes for on smarty.cz?
Wait, 1 terabyte?
Yeah, the
1 terabyte OLED.
The Steam Deck.
Steam Deck. I did
Steam
earlier,
Deck,
but I forgot.
The Steam Deck 1 terabyte OLED sold on that site goes for 19,990 koruna. So just, a small percentage off. So about the same price as the 512 gigabyte Steam machine. So you could take that to mean the Steam machine will be $950 USD pre-tax if the price is correct, or you can take that to mean the Steam machine will be $649.
Right.
So our range is somewhere between $649 and $950 if this price is correct, which is to say it's not a valuable range, right? Like this is not giving us much information. It's pretty close to what the range anyone could have guessed at this point.
And by the way, $650, that's exactly what I said it would cost. Not that I'm trying to brag or anything. I'm just saying that's what I said it would cost, and this is right in there. That's very interesting. Right. Carrie, do you think that this listing seems believable to you? And do you think that they know something that we don't?
I do feel like it is believable for a reseller giving a reseller type of price based on the information that they have. I don't think that Valve gave them any information, and they are just piggybacking on what they already have. I do think it's a placeholder price that is equidistant to what the Steam Deck already is. And that's all that this is that there's a reseller price padded in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And it gives them wiggle room to go anywhere with it, really. But they get to have it on their site. They get to let people know that they're going to be selling it. And that, that's all they need to do. I don't think Valve is telling anybody or relaying anything to anybody, but I think it's relatively in the ballpark of where they would anticipate their profit margin to be bundled in there as a reseller.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
No one reported on, and I don't know if this wasn't reported on because there's not a price behind the scenes, but no one reported on the fact that Smarty.cz also has listings for Steam Frame. And I have numbers here, which I assume I got it from a resetter post. So I assume these are real. So Steam Frame 256 gigabyte would be 14,800 koruna. So about 15K koruna. And Steam Frame 512 would be 18,000 koruna, which would put Steam Frame, depending on how you're looking at it, right? If you're looking at it kind of similar margins to what they're selling the Steam Deck at, would be around 483 to 584.
That's inexpensive from my viewpoint of what the Steam frame would be.
I think so.
Yeah, I would agree with that being inexpensive. But Carrie, you said something earlier that I put my hand up because I couldn't find the frickin' button. So one thing I find really interesting, if they don't have any pricing from Valve, and Bill, you said this too, like where would this price come from? It's an oddly specific price. It's a very, I'm just like, even if they don't know the price and they're anticipating what they might make off of it, you figure you just put in $9,999 for the whole thing. It's odd to me, and part of me is screaming that this was intentionally leaked to give the site some publicity. But
oh yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I was mangling my words earlier trying to say that, but I don't know here. It's very interesting. I gotta percolate over this one.
We do actually know some of the things. We actually do know some of the bill of materials, like the cost of the components, the raw components themselves.
Yeah.
There is fudge in there insofar as a wiggle room of all of the parts that are in the Steam machine are not attractive, especially for what we can get. So if it were at $900 US dollars, right? Like it is so unattractive for what it's going to be. Like when reviewers get their hands on it and like show it off and then compare it to like other stuff, even with all of the stuff of like memory prices and NAND and everything else being expensive, you're going to have a bad time. If you pizza when you French fry, you're going to have a bad time. And I feel like you already see that in a lot of the comments. A lot of people are like, this price is DOA, this is dead on arrival, just cancel it. Why even bother? I really want to stress to a lot of people that it's going to be a fine box, but what people are anticipating that this is capable of is going to be in the PS5 range. And once you're doing that, any price over that, people are going to directly compare it to that. And that is a real problem that they're going to have. It's certainly a tough place to be into, and I'm still back into I still am a firm believer in my price range at the base model. I don't know, the 2 terabyte model is going to be, a clear jacking up of the price, but the overall, like if you just take a look at the bill of materials, like what it is, the reseller could take a look at those and be like, okay, this is going to be $400, $350 for Valve to make. They're going to sell it for whatever they're going to sell it for, and then we have to sell it over them. And you can reasonably come to like some type of conclusion from that and not be too far off the mark. I do think that there is value in what you're saying, Alan, insofar as let's just put this out there and like let's say that someone, oh look, I went on this site and I was looking in the back end and I saw this. It does give them free publicity. So yeah, there is that, and it's kind of like harmless insofar as free advertising goes. And it's just speculation that can happen at the moment. So I don't really put too much into it, and I don't think that Valve certainly has a hard place, and we're all very cognizant of that. Everyone is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So Rich, jump in.
One more thing, because while y'all were talking, and I just realized the Steam frame thing when I mentioned the last time, I looked up the Steam controller. So Steam controller is there too.
How much is that?
I didn't see that.
1,644 Czech koruna, which if you do just a straight conversion comes out to $78. I haven't done like the conversion where like similar to the Steam Deck 1 terabyte OLED, where like you account for this markup or margin. But it's sounding, if it's 78, I would assume that conversion that I'm talking about comes more to like $50. Right. And so if it comes out to
low, that's low, lower than I thought.
So listen, if it comes out to $50 for the controller, $500 for the Steam frame, $256, and $650 for the Steam machine, $512. What is that number, everybody?
$1,200. It's the bundle
$1,200.
But you can also do it the opposite way. You can do $650 for the Steam frame and $500 for the Steam Machine and $50
Right.
or you just do $500 for the Steam Machine and $700 for the Steam frame, and they throw in the Steam controller for free at $1,200.
And Alan, before you go, one thing I'll say is for the folks that don't know why I'm pointing out $1,200, $1,200 is just that number that a lot of people have been pointing to. Yeah, since
it's been like a year. It's almost it was February, right? February of last year that came out, I believe.
I don't know. So I know you've said that. I don't know where you got the $1,200 number from, but you've been saying it for a long time. So yeah.
What were you going to say, Alan?
$50 for that controller. If that's the truth, holy smokes!
No kidding.
If that's actually real and that number holds true, I think I'd be more excited about the controller than anything. I think that's with oops, hit the mic with the touchpads and everything. That would be phenomenal. So I don't want to get my hopes up there. I think, Rich, you got my spidey senses tingling, and if that is the price,
I'm known to do that. I'm known to give the copium. Sorry about that.
Now I'm gonna have to change the thumbnail because now I can't stop thinking about the controller because I mean, remember when we were talking about the controller and Carrie made the intro to your video, Rich?
Oh yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Push all the controllers off to the side.
Just push them all in. I'm done.
Yeah.
Just the Steam controller. That's it.
That's very interesting. We're going to move on to another topic here in a minute, but the thing that I want to say is that when you said it comes to about $80, I was like, okay, that's a reasonable price to have for a controller. Like most controllers these days are somewhere between $60 and $80. And then you have the very high end ones for $50. Like those are the ones that are really like cheap. And I don't want to say cheap. I'm going to say inexpensive. Well, while we were talking about the controller, Carrie, you found something?
Oh yeah, so this is what we were discussing just briefly before that. I pulled up the tweet where this is from Gabe Follower, and he posted on February 26th. This is when we were all talking about the $1,200 bundle price, and that's where this first came from. That I first saw it was from Gabe Follower, and he just posted this out there. This is when it was still called Deckard, and we had a long conversation about that on NerdNest as well. So we talked about it then. And I still feel like the controller is like a throw-in freebie at the $1,200 bundle price. That makes it make sense. So I still feel like the Steam Machine and the Steam Frame are $1,200, and the Steam controller is the freebie. I'm pretty sure that's what I said then. And if I didn't, that's what my feelings. And I'm gonna say that's what it is now. And I still feel, Steam Frame is $700, Steam Machine $500. Them's the prices.
A true sign of intelligence is being able to change your position when you get new information. So either he knew it right the first time or he's changing his mind now because he got new information. I will say I'm going to try to remember to find the episode where we talked about this and link it down below the like button so that you guys can check it out. Rich.
The interesting thing too about this Gabe Follower post is that he, of course, doesn't mention the Steam Machine, right? Like he wasn't thinking about the Steam Machine at this time. Nobody doing the data mines was in relation to the Deckard. And so I do wonder, it says the current price for the full bundle is set to be $1,200. I wonder specifically where that information came from. Like it likely came from some data mine, right? So some real information had it at $1,200 because I don't think Gabe Follower nor sadly it's Bradley, who he credits later, would state a number without any real, without that number existing somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. The real quick, the one thing I want to just quickly add is that when we had the conversation, even though Steam Machine wasn't in here, we were already from previous leaks and breadcrumbs that we already knew that the Steam Frame was something that would link with another stuff. And we had also Fremont, which we had already talked about before. So we were already in that mindset, even though it wasn't present here.
Yeah, it just seems like is a price something that you would have in files. That seems odd to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I exactly. I don't think it was actually files. I feel like there is like there's shenanigans and cahoots going on in the background.
Shenanigans and cahoots. That's my favorite two things to do. I'm always
the
up
name
for
of this
some
episode,
antics.
apparently.
There you go. All right. Well, you know what? Everybody who's watching this, please let us know what you think. First off, do you think that this is believable? And secondly, if you just pretend it's believable, is it an official price? Is this, a company that is doing resales? If you think that this is an official price, do you think it's too high? And finally, are you willing to buy a Steam Deck at that price? Let us know in the comment section down below that like button. And let's move on to our next topic today. And the next topic that I wanted to mention real quick is version control coming to Steam Workshop. For those of you who are unaware or that don't use it very often, of which I'm going to say that I'm guilty. I usually don't use Steam Workshop very much. But Steam Workshop is basically a way for mod makers to make it so that you can easily put mods into the games that you're playing. Before Steam Workshop, basically what you would do is you would go to some third-party website, you would download some nonsense, start editing files on your computer, and then run the game, and hopefully everything would run well. With Steam Workshop, it basically takes that process out of it, and you can just find mods right on the workshop. The time when I probably used it the most was when I was playing a game called Tabletop. It's a virtual table
Simulator?
Yeah, I think it's Tabletop Simulator for playing games like D&D or Star Wars Edge of the Empire, that kind of stuff. Or, during the pandemic, just playing poker with friends over the internet because we didn't go anywhere. That was like, I would constantly go into the Steam Workshop and download mods so that I could build like my D&D campaign for the people that I was playing with. And it was really, really cool. It made it super easy. Well, there's one problem with that is if you have mods installed and then the game that you're playing gets like a big update, sometimes the big update will break the games that you're playing if you have those mods installed. Well, now you have version control, and that version control will allow developers to have different versions of the mod based on which version of the game that you're playing. And I think that this is incredibly cool. This is something that I feel like flies in the face of the, what's the word of the what's a thing that people say all the time that's kind of true? Do you guys know the phrase I'm trying to think of? Well, doesn't matter. Somebody in the comments will tell me what it was, but it flies in the face of this phrase that Valve does nothing and wins.
Oh, I see.
Because Valve they do stuff all the time,
right?
That makes Steam the place where people want to play.
Yeah,
and
that's why it's monopoly.
Right, exactly. And so like everybody uses Steam because it's the best at so many things. You go to the Epic Game Store and it just doesn't, like, there's no features. It's just like, give us money and or just download your free games and never play them. You know what I mean? So I think that this is awesome. Mr. Sugeno, you run any mods when you play games on Steam, or are you more of a vanilla guy like me?
Oh, no, I mod the heck out of everything. So
okay.
It's, Steam Workshop I like because it's easy. If the game supports Steam Workshop and there's stuff on there, it's fantastic. I think the versioning on there it's a real nice QOL feature. I mean, I think there's a lot of people just getting into modding who would turn to Steam Workshop first because it's the easiest, most straightforward thing to do before heading off to third-party sites and going down that road. But I'm excited about that announcement. I'm really glad it's there, especially if you haven't touched a game in a while and you've updated it or come back to it, and then your save file is completely borked. So it's a good thing. going to stop because I see Carrie's hand raising before I go on a tangent.
Oh, no, please finish. Well, whatever you have to say, it's for whenever you're finished. No worries.
Yeah, okay. But I just think overall from just a quality of life, it's a great feature. It's a no-brainer. It's something that probably should have been there from the beginning, and we're praising Valve for putting it in now, but not complaining.
So one thing that I really love about this new feature is that it gives you the opportunity not only to lock what version that you're on of your executable, but it will also go back to a specific version of the executable of the game. So for instance, Fallout 4 for Fallout London, it is specifically for before that like Game of the Year or whatever. This will now support for Fallout London. Basically, the best way to do it was through GOG, because GOG was like, here's the version you need, here's the stuff, and just put these together. We'll manage it. So now there is an avenue for Fallout London. You just click subscribe, and it's like, well, you need this, so here you go, and all of it's just going to work. So I really like that from the angle of, I certainly hope that it's retroactive, right? Like that this Steam Workshop thing is like,
right.
oh, you know what? All of those previous versions, they're back in our repo. Here they are. Go ahead and download them so that you can get to this specific version. So I think that's super cool and simplifies what goes on there. The one part that I still don't like about Steam Workshop is that it can get super messy. And what I hope is with this versioning thing is that the versioning also understands conflicts, that either the community could like, hey, you know, this thing conflicts with that, so that when you have all these things, you don't get into, I mostly do it for Bethesda games, and I come into a contact where I'm like, subscribe, and I put all these things together, and then Skyrim's just broken. Like I'll launch it and it just completely breaks, and then I'm like working my way backwards. So what I would like is like whatever version that it has, Steam Workshop kind of meets me in the middle somewhere. Tries to hold my hand, but doesn't get too much in the way. But that's what my real hope is.
So not to punch a hole in all the optimism, but this does require both developers and mod creators like doing the work, right? So in the case of like, let's say versions, right? Like Fallout you mentioned, as long as developers are putting up those versions. So it's not backwards compatible, but a developer is responsible for making that version available. So like some people may have already seen, not with mods, but you can change the version of the game. For example, go to a beta or go to a beta or stick to the main version.
Right.
So it's kind of like that. You have to kind of fall back to a different version. And then, the workshop, the mod creator would have to kind of do the same thing on their end. But as long as they're both doing that, it should be awesome.
That's less great. Because Bethesda's going to be like, well, we're not doing that.
Right.
If you didn't point out that exact example, I probably wouldn't have even mentioned it.
And that was like what I was happy about. I was like, oh, sweet, I could just do Steam. And it's like, oh, sweet. All right, cool. That's not happening. Back to the GOG it is. Oh, well. It was good while it lasted. That whole 5 seconds of optimism I had.
I guess I'm bad news rich this week. Sorry.
By the way, all of the people in my Discord and in the comments that keep calling me Bad News Bill, I blame you, Rich. It's your fault because you said it would stick. Part of me blames Carrie a little bit because he mumbled under his breath, Bad News Bill. And then you were like, Bad News Bill, that's a great nickname. And I said, oh no, now everybody's doing it. And now because I've talked about it, it's even worse. So since you guys mentioned GOG, we might as well talk about this real quick. This is something that actually happened last week, but we didn't discuss it. GOG project owner Project Red, or CD Projekt Red, sold GOG to the co-founder for $25 million. And for those of you who only use Steam, GOG is a DRM-free store. So you can buy games DRM-free and play them on whatever device you want as long as it'll run. And that is really, really cool. Here's what they said. They said GOG, and I'm not going to try and pronounce this guy's name because I'll screw it up, are aligned by a shared belief that games should live forever in a market that's getting more crowded, more locked in, and forgets classic games at an increasing pace. We're doubling down on what only GOG does, reviving classics, keeping them playable on modern PCs, and helping great games find their audience over time. I think that is awesome, and I'm super happy that they're trying to continue to do that. I do get a little bit nervous when it's hard to say it's a new owner because they're not really new, but when ownership of something that's really pretty well beloved gets transferred to somebody new, it always makes me nervous that they're going to start making changes that people aren't happy about. Alan, you own any games on GOG?
I own a lot on GOG. I love GOG. It's usually where I go to first, to be honest with you, because it's DRM free. You own it forever. Well, provided you save the executable if they don't host it anymore. But yeah, I think I was going to put my hand up because I've got a lot of thoughts on this one. I would say it was such a good move. I think this is the best move possible for GOG. I mean, selling back to a co-founder, it's not like it's being sold to some unknown person. It was someone who founded the company, with that vision in mind. So I'm over the moon for GOG. Arguably, this protects the company from shareholders from trying to find shareholder value. And if the guy's got a lot of money, hopefully can keep it afloat if it's not super profitable. And if he keeps it as a pet project or just something he's passionate about and maybe has a little bit more faith in it than a company would with shareholders, it could be very good for GOG in the long run. And I'm really hoping selfishly that GOG just does a little bit better Linux integration, and then I think that would be a home run for them. But
yeah, is it possible for them to just throw Proton in there, like how Valve did? I know that Valve kind of paid for Proton to get built, but can GOG just say we're going to use Proton if we want to?
Like in GOG Galaxy, you mean? Like in the launcher?
Yeah, in their launcher.
Yes, I haven't looked at their launcher in so long.
Same.
But I would imagine yes, right? Like there's no.
If anything, it would be like licensing something or other that would get in the way. But I don't feel like they're everything is using Proton, right? So
right. Proton's open source. That's how we can have things like
that's what I mean.
What's the other Proton? The one that
Proton
Wine?
GE.
Yeah, Proton GE.
Oh yeah. So yeah, exactly. Like I mean, I'm not of the belief that they would even step in, even if there was. I think it really just comes down to like some really specific licensing things. If they tried doing something really squirrely with it, but if they just used it as it should be intended to be used, I don't think that there'd be any particular issue. Proton itself is built on top of Wine as it is, so like,
right.
I don't see anything really happening.
Very cool. Rich, you look like you had something to say.
Yeah, I just they gave a lot of like reassuring notes in kind of the various PR, and it just was nice to hear, right? Like GOG's going to remain independent. CDPR is committed to publishing Witcher, Cyberpunk on Good Old Games. They're doubling down on classic games preservation, as Mr. Sujano was alluding to. And yeah, CDPR is going to just focus on the games, which is also kind of interesting too, right? Like this is obviously Valve has the ability to focus on Steam, Steam hardware, and video games sometimes, maybe hopefully this year, maybe.
Fingers crossed.
Right. But even as you can see, what happened, Gary?
I was saying the bundle price, they're going to include Half-Life 3 in there for free.
That's true. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be Half-Life 3.
Yeah, but it's going to be free inside of that bundle price. So you get a Steam controller and Half-Life 3 for free inside that bundle price because they gave Half-Life Alyx with every index. That's how I got Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah.
Is because I bought my index. So I feel like they're already on that path. There's precedent where Half-Life just came with a thing that they sold. Steam Machine is going to be $12,000, and it's going to
$12,000.
It's the only way that you can play Half-Life 3.
That's insane. But yeah, so like in this case, it just feels like, yes, the GOG team will get to focus on GOG. The CDPR team will get to focus on games. There'll be not just teams, there'll be different entities. And that seems like a good thing.
It does. It really does. Let us know what you guys think of this. How many games do you have on GOG? I have to admit, I almost never go to it because I know what will happen is I will have to like jump through hoops to get it to launch on my Linux machine. And I don't want to jump through hoops. Like I'm lazy. So I just always go straight to Steam, even though I would prefer DRM free. Let us know what you guys think in those comments down below. And let's move on to our next topic, which is more Microsoft focused. We've got actually three Microsoft stories in here. The first one that I want to go with is Jez Corden. He posted over at Windows Central a story about the next Xbox will run full bore Windows. I mean, we've been talking about that for a very long time at this point, so that's not shocking to anybody who's been listening to our podcast. It says it will utilize the Windows 11 full screen experience. Again, ain't nobody shocked by hearing this. And it will use the Xbox PC app to deliver its console interface. Now, there's a couple of quotes in here that I think are important. And I originally found this over on Resetera and then followed it over to Windows Central. But it says here, where it diverges with a traditional PC, because it's running full bore Windows. So it's just a PC, just like the Steam Deck is just a PC, just like the Steam Machine is just a PC. The next Xbox is just a PC running Windows 11, but it says where it diverges with a traditional PC is in its ability to actually run games compatible with Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S. Microsoft announced that it's partnering with AMD to enable Xbox games on this PC-like device. Existing Xbox console user libraries will come forward with them to the new Xbox as Microsoft continues to commit to backwards compatibility in a big way. I have to say, this is something that we've been talking about for a really long time. If the next Xbox is just a PC, then it's just a PC and it's not a damn Xbox. But if you can play your old Xbox games on it, obviously not the disc versions, unless it has a disc slot in it, then then it is an Xbox. Like when the Xbox Ally X came out, what's the thing that we said? It's a great piece of hardware. It's a terrible Xbox. Well, if this can actually play those games, then that's actually pretty appealing to a lot of people, I think. And I think that would be the right move. Carrie, do you think that that's something they can actually do? Be able to bring all of the Xbox One library and Xbox Series S and X forward to PC?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's a few parts there. They have all of the software components there. Xbox itself runs in a hypervisor, so all of the games are technically in a container, which means that all of the cool stuff that was for Xbox should, with a high degree of certainty, be on this particular platform. So you have things like Quick Resume, where you're like, I want to play this game, and now it's just like boop, and then you just jump straight back to where you were. You also have more storage to do Quick Resume type of stuff, so because you can just expand storage to whatever you want because it's your PC. So there's things like that where you have to think about it through a container,
if you can afford it,
lens. And at that point, it's just the hardware part that they just have to satisfy. And there is hardware level extensions on Xbox One and Xbox Series that enabled 360 emulation to be possible, because there's like no way to get AMD Atom Jaguar cores to emulate Xbox 360 as well as it did, especially at the frequency that those things were running at. Those things were just absolute dogs. And what Xbox was able to achieve on there was frankly miraculous. And we've learned that there has been some other things on there for like coprocessors to handle like VMX 128 and all the other things that were on the Xbox 360. So if this Windows Central thing is saying flat out that they're working with AMD, they've already done this. So AMD is likely making whatever components necessary on the CPU end to facilitate the virtualization part of the 360, which they've already done for the Xbox and Xbox Series, and then also whatever extensions needed and via like virtualized parts needed for the hypervisor to work, which Microsoft already does, and they do well. So there's a lot of things that they have a lot of runway to get this done. I think it's really cool from like all of the quick resume and other stuff that they have there, and it'll be interesting to see how this bakes going forward a lot. I think the thing that's going to be a little bit shaky is that there's likely, unfortunately for like the Xbox Ally X, is not going to be able to have these potentially, or at least not be able to play like 360 emulation, but they might be able to do Xbox One, Xbox Series games in those containers with the virtualized extensions, which it does have. But for 360 emulation, they might have to. Well, actually, that's not true because they have Zen 4, and Zen 4 has AVX 512, and AVX 512 could probably supersede VMX 128. So they could kind of like piggyback through that SIMD instruction
Are we
set.
still online?
Can you hear me?
Oh, everything froze for me for a second. Are we?
Oh, okay.
Everybody still there?
Carrie was on an
here.
awesome tangent.
Yeah. He was
Okay.
going off.
So
You could tell because my eyes glazed over.
So there
Anyway,
are
sorry, go
there
ahead.
are SIMD instruction sets. So AVX 512 that's on Zen 4 could, in theory, you could probably pump VMX 128 in there. So it probably could. They would probably just have to like figure out a bunch of different layers of like available hardware to get this. To achieve that, I think that the ultimate goal for Microsoft would be to work with AMD and make this cookie cutter chip that they could also like work with their partners like Asus and all these other companies. They're like, hey, you want this thing, but you want a bigger GPU? You want the Super Xbox to sell to everyone? Well, here's the Super Xbox that you can sell to everybody, which we've discussed previously before. So we're just having more evidence that this is possible. It is quite possible. It'll be interesting to see how this materializes and people's reaction to it. But if we do arrive here finally, that'll be a long time. It'll be a long time that this was coming.
Alan?
I think Xbox has to do this. Realistically, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom about the future of Xbox and the hardware, but I really think they need to do something that differentiates themselves and offers more value than what they're currently doing. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. It's just seeing everything out there, the competition, and even the news of the Steam machine, really compromising the future of Xbox. With what Kerry is saying, I mean, if he was selling, I'm buying, because that's I do think Microsoft and Xbox need to do that.
I would agree. Here's my question to you, Alan. Does it need a disk drive to succeed? Because there's a lot of people who have Xboxes and they have their collections sitting on shelves. Kerry has 1,000 of them somewhere nearby. He could reach and grab every game. And they go to the store, they buy an Xbox, they bring it home, and they can't play 90% of their library that they've been buying for years and years and years because there's no drive. I feel like it's okay to sell one that doesn't have a drive, but do they have to have a version of it with a drive? Or do you think it's okay for them to say, you know what, we're going to have to leave the physical media behind us because physical media is dying?
At the very least, I think they need to have an attachment that plugs in, at the very least. If they offer digital only, that's fine, but they better have a USB drive or a socket to plug that disc in.
Yeah, I don't have, a ton of faith in modern Xbox, but I think given that, even with that, I should say, I think that they'll provide at least an attachment.
I think what's interesting at least an interesting angle, I think that an attachment is something that they would offer, but I also think that if you're going to work with third-party providers, that allowing them to make a version of an Xbox that has a disk drive that can differentiate yourself in the market of the Super Xbox and whatever's that's going to be out there, that is also a kind of interesting idea. And if you're going to go back to like Xbox emulation, Xbox 360 emulation, and people still have those discs, there is value to that where they like that functionality. And not for nothing, Xbox games are fantastically cheap. Now, Game Pass is making them lower. Game Pass sells them for next to nothing. So I would certainly like it because I've been buying them for like $4 and $3.
Is the drive that's in the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One and the Xbox Series, is that just a boring ass drive, or is it like some proprietary nonsense?
So the 360 does have some proprietariness to it, that it will do some non-standard things where it reads a very inside track that typical DVD drives do not. So it will actually go further to verify the disc on the 360. And that's where, I don't know if you guys were in the 360 hacking scene, but like the DVD drive got hacked first as a means of like playing backups. And there was a firmware override for that. And that was how you would play backups. So you were basically sending the code to the disc and saying, yeah, it's legit. Go ahead and start reading from it. And that would start its way. So that was like the one part that wasn't secure on the system. As it relates to Xbox One and Xbox Series, I think that it's along the same lines, just Blu-ray. And they had some mechanism of, at least initially, with these, they were going to do that thing where before the flip the switch was when you put a disc in, it would actually take the serial from that disc, which was actually baked per disc,
right,
and then attach it to your account, and then that disc would just basically be a coaster. So I don't know if that is still on there, because I was like, that all got like pulled back before the official Xbox One launch. It may potentially be still there, but generally speaking, though, that there is both the 360 and the Series and Xbox One likely have some customness to them. I don't think it's way out of the way, but now they're obviously Blu-ray.
One axis that we haven't talked about this in, but we've talked about it plenty before, and so it's obvious to us, but I want to bring it up anyway, is if I've heard some, like people say like, oh, the Steam machine's going to be expensive, but the like Magnus is the one to get, right? Like Magnus is going to be you'll get this bang for your buck. If that's true, well, the great good news is if you want that box, but you want a Steam machine experience, given that it's going to run full bore Windows, you'll probably be able to install whatever OS you want to, right? So you can have a Steam machine Xbox, or you can have a Xbox Steam machine, and probably, right? And so like that seems like good news too.
Is it possible for a hardware manufacturer that is just installing Windows on a machine, is it possible that they could lock it so that you couldn't install another operating system on there? It's not something that I would ever bother to try. So it's just occurred to me when you said that, Rich. Like, could they make it so you can't install SteamOS?
It's possible, but not. It wouldn't make any sense, right? Like you'd have to lock it down at the BIOS level, and
right.
So and that would lock too much away from the user if they lock the BIOS.
That makes sense.
Yeah, basically you would more or less like tamper with the whole ACME table and make it so that it only was for that particular unit.
ACME?
And then you'd be in the advanced control power, the whole thing that like springs up. Basically why you can't use ARM on PC, right? Like you can't be like, I'm going to install whatever I want on the ARM thing, because it's all like pre-baked on a device tree.
Gotcha.
There's nothing there. So it's like, how like Asahi Linux for MacBooks. You can't just install any Linux. You need a very specific one that has been baked for that, and like people have been building for that. So that's kind of where you could potentially be. There is it's not out of the question that could happen.
I do think it would be hilarious if the price point was very attractive, that people just started buying these new Xboxes to wipe Windows off and throw SteamOS on or something.
Imagine, yeah, that would be hilarious. It'd be great.
So, let me ask you guys a question real quick. What do you think is going to be more expensive, the next Xbox or the Steam machine? And this is going to be like a lightning round, so we're going to go fast. Rich?
Xbox.
Yeah.
Okay, Carrie already agreed. Alan?
Yeah.
Xbox, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be way more expensive. It's so much huger and newer, and using advanced stuff over the Steam machine. It's like night and day.
Well, I mean, we don't know. Like we haven't seen.
Oh, yeah, right. Speculation-wise, right? Rumor-wise of what Magnus is. If that was true, Magnus is a gigantic monster compared to Steam machine.
Right. And that one, people were speculating, I'm going to say 6 months ago, that it was going to be $1,000.
That's definitely gonna be that's gonna be the cheap end.
But now
It's gonna
people
be
are
so
speculating the Steam Deck's going to be, or the Steam Machine is going to be $1,000.
I really don't think that's the case, but yes,
I don't think
yeah.
so either.
Yeah, like if Steam Machine was $1,000, then the next Xbox, with the rumors that we're hearing, is going to be like $2,000, based on the different, like 48 gigs of RAM, just a gigantic GPU, a
48
super
gigs of
big
RAM.
CPU. Like it's a gigantic monster, is what it is, and for that to be, it's going to be like 1,200 based on like whatever pricing is. But by 2027, we have no idea what's going to happen. So who knows?
That's true. That's a long way off. But you know what's not a long way off is Microsoft is doing a developer direct later on this month to celebrate their 25 years. Phil Spencer posted a video on LinkedIn, of all places. I know that it's supposed to be like a social network, but as somebody who doesn't do that kind of work, I never go to LinkedIn, and every time I click on a LinkedIn link, it's like, you need to sign up. And I'm like, I'm not signing up for your nonsense. I'm not trying to find a job through LinkedIn. So no, thank you. But anyway, he posted it there, and then Tom Warren reposted it over with Blue Sky. And apparently we have a developer direct later on this month. What are you guys hoping to see in the developer direct? For me, I'm hoping to see Fable. I'm hoping to see the next Forza game, which I can't believe I'm saying, because I couldn't care less about racing games, but then I ended up playing Forza Horizon 5 on Game Pass, and I was like, this is super fun. Why did I ignore it for so long? But those are the two games that I'm hoping most to hear about. And, my dark horse pick, I would absolutely love to hear a console version of WoW. Just because I'm a big fan. That's not going to happen, but that's what I'm hoping for. Rich, what are you hoping to hear for in this developer direct later this month?
So you probably didn't get to watch because of LinkedIn, but I believe he confirmed Fable on Forza Horizon 6.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
No, I didn't get to watch it, and I didn't have a chance to actually watch the video earlier.
Yeah. So yes, he confirmed, I believe, that those will be at the direct. Yeah, that's the transcript. Okay, good. Yes. I don't really have any, you know what? Actually, I'm correcting myself mid-sentence. I was gonna say I don't have any expectations or hopes or desires, but there have been rumors about a Wolfenstein 3, and I would be all over that.
Ooh.
And that would be most likely by Machine Games.
Yes.
Who just finished with Indiana Jones. So heck yes, please.
Alan, do you have any? Are you, which of those three are you most interested in? We've got Fable, Horizon, Forza Horizon, and then Wolfenstein 3. Wolfenstein 3. I don't know how to say it.
Oh, it'd be Wolfenstein. Yeah, that I'd really like to see that announced. That'd be pretty cool. I saw the rumors I think today about Wolfenstein 3. That's fresh. I think that would be amazing. Forza. I mean, this one's in Japan, is it not? The next Forza.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I think that'd be a lot of fun, especially if they have those key trucks. Then I'd be all over it. I'd be an insta buy. But aside from that, the Wolfenstein and I'm a Halo fan too, so I want to see Halo stuff. I think that's a given too, because there's one in development. So
it's a long way off, though. Like, wasn't it just announced last year?
Yes, but there was also a demo that they did, and this is like a wrapper of Unreal on top of the Blam engine. So it's not really like they're going. It's the Obsidian route.
Okay.
The Oblivion route.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, okay. Like that's actually very interesting then. It's going to require some beefy hardware, though.
Yes. Yeah, you have Unreal Engine 5 with all the pretty stuff in the front end, and then it feels like Halo because it is Halo running in the background.
Interesting. All right. So, Carrie, you're like the bigger Xbox guy on the panel. What are you looking forward to on for this
Fable
developer direct?
Yeah, I really loved Fable for the original Xbox. I was a big fan of Peter Molyneux. I loved all of Peter Molyneux's games, and I feel like Fable had a lot of charm. And I feel, especially because Playground Games, you have two the back to back that they're doing something for, Forza Horizon 6 and then Fable. I'm very interested in what they're going to do with Fable, just generally because I like what they do with their engines and stuff, and how beautiful Forza Horizon games are. So Fable for me is the one where I have a lot of optimism insofar as the source material of what they're doing, how they're attacking it, and who is making it. Even though I feel like Fable isn't a big one for most people, I do really enjoy Fable.
I think it is a big one for the people who played the original Xbox a lot.
So that's what I was going to say. It's just a weird IP because like they haven't had it's so far removed at this point that like, yes, the people that played it just love it to death, but like it's just been so long that like how many people, wow. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, there are plenty of people that just have not grown up on Fable. So Microsoft will have to like figure that out too. Is just like, how do you attract just the people that, want to play a good old fantasy game? And they seem to be doing a good job of that so far.
Yeah. It's the comedy segments that they have with Fable and the, what's the actor's name? He was in the IT crowd.
Richard Ayoade.
Yeah, he looks. Some of the stuff that I've already seen and some of the voice, I'm like that. It just seems like it is the charming Fable that I am used to, and I'm looking forward to that. And I have a lot of hope for this particular game.
All I want from Fable is for some lady to yell at me, "Chicken chaser," and I will be happy. That's all I need. All right. So I said we had a trio of Xbox related stories. The third one is not necessarily Xbox, but it's Bethesda, and Bethesda is owned by Microsoft these days. And that is that Fallout New Vegas has a remake on its way. I think that first off, it's a rumor. As with all rumors, two questions. Does this seem believable? Assume it's real. What do we think of it? So first part, does it seem believable? Absolutely. This seems believable to me. We just had the Oblivion remaster and it was awesome. It was super fun to play. I had an absolute blast playing that game. It looked beautiful, but it played, just like Carrie was saying with, the Halo thing, they basically wrapped the graphics around the old game. So it was basically playing the old game, but it looked really, really nice. It required a pretty beefy machine to play it, but man, it was a really fun experience. So I would love to play this, and that's why I think it's believable. And that's why I'm really, really excited about it. I'm assuming that this is probably real. Alan, are you a Fallout? Oh, hold on. Before Alan goes, I almost forgot. And we have the show. They have a Fallout 1, the Fallout series season 1. Everybody loved. Fallout Series 2 is running right now. I think only 3 episodes are out so far, and all 3 episodes so far that I've seen have been fantastic. And it really must drive Microsoft up the wall that they have they don't have a game to sell alongside this.
Yeah.
So Alan, are you a Fallout guy? Like, do you love the Fallout games? I know you said you mod a lot of stuff. You probably put all the mods in there, didn't you?
I can't tell you a Fallout game I've played without modding. I think my initial playthrough on pretty much every single one has been modded in some way, shape, or form. So it's I'm excited. And you took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say it'd be crazy for them not to do the game, considering the series is out. The series is hot. It's very popular, and the success that they had with Oblivion, I think it makes sense, absolute sense. It'd be crazy for them not to at least entertain it. So I'm actually really excited for this one. I think if they do it, it's going to be a good seller.
Rich, what do you think, man?
Like I said, Microsoft has been having like banner year with games, but I do want to point out, like, Carrie, is Obsidian right now Insomniac a few years ago? Do they have Xbox on their shoulders?
They're just Atlas is just like holding up. Yeah, in some ways, yes.
Yeah. Between this, New Vegas in this case, not the Fallout 3 remake, but I imagine they're going to be involved in a New Vegas remake, and then the game from, who was that founder? What was his name? I forgot his name already, but the guy
Tim,
that came back to Tim Kaine.
Yeah,
That's
So
it.
he's working on a new
right.
game with Obsidian, and he is not saying what it is. I have some thoughts of my own. I
He
follow
said
him on his
nobody
YouTube
would
channel.
guess it too.
Yeah. I have been following him on his YouTube channel. He's insightful. He's a charismatic fellow, and I like watching him and just seeing the short little things. Where it comes, we already like with Oblivion and that coming out and being so good. Then we were like, oh, there has been already rumors of Fallout 3. I was like, man, I really hope that the news of Oblivion is so good that they just like greenlight New Vegas. And with this news, I am huffing so much hopium that it's unreal. Like, I really, really want New Vegas and Fallout 3 both remastered, like how Oblivion was remastered. I feel like that would be absolutely amazing, and specifically with the timing of how everything's going to come, because like there is a semblance of when the Xbox launches that there is some degree of perhaps Elder Scrolls 6 launches with the next Xbox, and then they're going to be working on Fallout 5 in the background, and they need some type of Fallout in between that segment, right? So Fallout 3 remastered and Fallout New Vegas remastered fit in that slot as well. And that is why I'm like, I feel like I like, yes, this is absolutely true. And I want it so much to be true.
All right. Well, let us know what you guys think is of this trio of Xbox stories in the comment section down below that like button. And let's move on to our next topic, which is we've talked about Larian Studios a lot lately, and they did an AMA today. I have not had a chance to go through and read all of what they said, but luckily Rich found a post over on Resetera that had quoted the like one of the most important things that I was looking forward to hear about, and that is whether or not Larian Studios is going to be using generative AI to make their game. Basically, this came up because I believe Sven Vinke mentioned something about using AI for, I can never remember the word.
Concept art.
Thank you. Concept art. Not for what's actually in the game, just for concept art. And people were ticked off about it, which I personally, I'm not a fan of AI stuff. I do see that there can be places where it can be used. Rich and I just did a live stream the other day, an episode of the podcast, and we talked about how Embark, which makes Arc Raiders, is using it in a way that I feel like is okay, because they hired voice actors, trained their stuff on those voice actors with the voice actors' knowledge that that's what they were doing, and then it lets them ping any item in the game so that they can say whatever the hell that they want, and the actors knew about that ahead of time. I think that that's great. Sven Vinke said this when asked about generative AI in Divinity. He said, first off, there is not going to be any Gen AI art in Divinity. I know that there's been a ton of discussion about us using AI tools as part of concept art exploration. We already said this doesn't mean the actual concept art is generated by AI, but we understand it created confusion. I'm still confused. So to ensure there's no room for doubt, we've decided to refrain from using Gen AI tools during concept art development. That way, there can be no discussion about the origin of the art. He goes on to say, having said that, we continuously try to improve the speed with which we can... Oh, holy cannoli. I am muting you, buddy. There we go. Typing like a maniac. The more iterations that we can do, the better in general the gameplay is. We think Gen AI can help with this. I cannot read today. And so we're trying to get things across departments. Our hope is that it can aid us to refine ideas faster, leading to more focused development cycles, less waste, and ultimately a higher quality game. And then he said this last part, and then I'm going to open it up to the panel. The important bit to note is that we will not generate creative assets that end up in the game without being 100% sure about the origins of the training data and consent of those who created the data. If we use Gen AI model to create in-game assets, it will be trained on data that we own. That is very interesting. Carrie, I know that you've talked a lot about making your own AI stuff. So do you think that they are setting it up so that they are running their own AI and not using somebody else's AI, but they're training it themselves on stuff that their artists are making?
Right. Yeah. So this is, this is the thing that like everyone kind of is up in arms about, and I get it. And there's a part of this that empowers super conglomerates that can have this ability to do this. Not saying that they are doing it, but if you are sourcing your own material and the people that are making it are under the knowledge that they are doing it, you're only baking a model with the stuff that you have, but making sure that, especially generative AI, where it's going to be leveraging that type of stuff, to fully do that, you are going to need a person that is in that mix that can really help with making sure that that is the case. But yeah, it goes on. It goes on to basically saying that you could be reasonably sure that whatever does come out of that is organic, it's like what they have. It's not really treading on the ground. It's an interesting legal area, and I think it absolves them of a lot of you're using other people's stuff. But ultimately, this comes down to, like, if you were to think of it from like Microsoft's point of view, right? It's like, oh, we want to do generative AI, and everyone has a problem with it, and then they just like hire, or they do like Fiverr and stuff, and they just get a bunch of stuff that they can buy from people and wholesale have in perpetuity for eternity, and put that into a model, and it's just like stuffing that in there. That's the part where things get a little shaky for me about this whole thing, and it is a truly hard thing to go around. But yes, ultimately, it should be okay. You're muted.
Of course I am. The only thing that makes me wonder there is, you say like what if they hire people on Fiverr? What's to stop people on Fiverr? Like, I go on Fiverr, there's some, like, Microsoft is like, hey, we want to buy your art. Okay, I'm going to hop on Nano Banana, type in some nonsense, get something out, cut out that little star symbol at the bottom, and then send it in and say, there you go. Yeah, they don't know what I did.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. There is a problem with, like, how do they do that? Oh, sorry, Rich, go ahead.
No, I was going to tie it to another story. I forget which publisher, but a publisher just said that they're changing their contracts such that the game developers that sign on to publish with them are, confirming and signing off that they are not using Gen AI, which makes sense. But also, how do you verify that, right? Like, and they won't verify that. If it comes to light that those developers are, then all that means is that the publisher isn't liable from that point on, and maybe publisher can cancel that contract or whatever. But I guess the point is, this could happen in any number of ways where, like, yes, I'm going to contract someone or hire a developer to do the art or whatever, and it turns out they're just using AI.
I'm going to just interrupt real quick on you, Alan. I have to leave. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you, sir. Mr. Sujano, I hope that you join us again sometime in the future. Rich, Bill, as always, guys, it's a pleasure. Everyone else, bye-bye for now.
Stay right, Carrie. And then there were three. What were you saying?
I think Mr. Sujano was next.
Oh, okay.
I was just patiently waiting. No, I think it's a slippery slope, a really slippery slope. If you do any sort of contract work, you have to trust that they're not using any sort of Gen AI, and you can try to run some tests to see if they are. But I mean, that's going to additionally run into problems with delaying games and all of that, because then you're doing all this extra QA work and trying to get all of that done. So I don't know here. I think it's a really slippery slope. I think Larian is going to have to be walking on eggshells throughout all of this, and really having to over-explain how they're using AI, because it's such a toxic term in terms of in terms of being viewed by the gamers and the community. I mean, I'm not against AI. I'm not for it. I'm kind of AI can be exploited, and that's when you see companies being involved. Arguably, it gets exploited in all of the wrong ways, and that's where I get really worried about it. But yeah, I think it's going to be very hard for any company to guarantee that AI has not been used in their games whatsoever, unless everything is built in-house and everything is supervised to a point where they know no one has done it. So, and then what is to say about AI being used, for example, to help type an email up or create a chart or something like that, like non-asset related? So,
yeah, the one thing that jumps out at me is if they're jumping through all these hoops that you're talking about, at what point is it just easier to make the assets yourself? You know what I mean? They're training it off stuff that they own, stuff that their artists made. You have artists. Just have them make the stuff. It just seems counterintuitive to me. And Rich, the company that you talked about, I think it's Hooded Horse. They said right. It is now written into our contracts. If we publish the game, no AI assets. They used some expletives there, but they said no AI assets.
I like a good use of an expletive when it's warranted.
Agreed. Absolutely. All right. Let's take a look at the rest of the show notes here that we have. I did not see much about this before I saw it in the show notes. So, Rich, can you tell us about this yet another decompilation project? Because I love these things.
Of course. I love decompilation projects too. So this one is about Jet Set Radio Future. It is very early, mind you.
Well,
so this
maybe explain what a decompilation project is first.
Okay, yeah. So a decompilation project is an effort to take the source code or not the source code, but the machine code for a game and convert it back to source code. So take the compiled code and decompile it into source code. The reason for which is that you can then modify that source code, right? And so you can recompile it. So when a decompilation project is 100% complete, that means that you can take the source code that you now have and compile it, and it is a one-to-one match with the executable or the machine code that you decompiled. That's reaching 100% completion. And once you reach that, then you can do a quote-unquote PC port, where you port that game to PC. And when you do a port to PC, you might think about doing like widescreen aspect ratios, controller support, things like that, right? And so they're doing this for Jet Set Radio Future. Radio Future, that's the Xbox game, right? Like the OG Xbox game?
Yeah, because the original Jet Set Radio was Dreamcast, right?
That's right, yeah. So this one looks to be 30% complete. So again, very, very early. So going from 30 to 100, that's a long, like going from 90 to 100 can take months, right? Like if not longer. So going from 30 to 100 is going to take some time. And this could enable a native PC port of, that 2002 Xbox exclusive.
Alan, you got any thoughts on Jet Set Radio Future?
I'm excited. I'm very excited. As soon as I saw that news, I was excited for I'm just thinking of the potential too. I mean, they learn so much through these decomp projects that other games sometimes benefit from it. Look at the whole N64 scene right now. That's just exploding in terms of decomps.
Oh yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. It's hopeful. And Rich, you hit the nail on the head. We don't know how long it's going to take. From 30 to 80% could take a week, and then people are really excited, and then 80 to 100 could take 2 years. So it's really touch and go. But at the same time, if people are dedicated enough, skilled enough, and lucky enough, emphasis on lucky enough, they can get this done in a reasonable amount of time. But I think this is really good.
As somebody who believes very strongly in game preservation, I could not care less about playing Jet Set Radio Future, but I still want this to happen because I want game preservation. I have zero nostalgia for Jet Set Radio. I didn't play it on the Dreamcast. I didn't play it on the Xbox. So I don't have any nostalgia for that, but I want every game to be available in perpetuity forever, because games are art and art should be preserved. Insert it belongs in a museum, that kind of thing right there. All right. We have, as I said at the beginning, we have so many stories in the show notes. We cannot get through them all. We also have a bunch of new Game Plus showcase for 2026 that I didn't get to see. That Ubisoft fired a bunch of people who coincidentally just unionized, which is lame. Bad news, Bill strikes again. But you know what? Last week we said that we were going to talk about our most anticipated games of 2026. So each of us picked 5 games and 2 notable mentions. I'm going to start off with my 2 notable mentions, and then I'll list off my 5 top games. These are not in any particular order. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. I think that looks really cool. I remember seeing Dragon Quest VII, but I never played it originally, and I like the art style that they're going for it, so I'm excited about that. My other notable mention is that I think that it would be really awesome if we got a new Zelda game, maybe a 2D Zelda game this year, because it is the 40th anniversary of Zelda, and it feels to me like that's a really great time to bring out maybe a Link's Awakening style 2D Zelda game, kind of like with the one where you actually played as Zelda, and then the Link's Awakening remake on the Switch 1. I would love to see that. And then for my 5 most anticipated games for 2026, Resident Evil Requiem. I played through Resident Evil 7, had an absolute blast. Didn't enjoy Resident Evil 8 as much as 7. It just seemed a little more actiony. But everything that I saw with Resident Evil Requiem has me very excited because of a couple things. Number one, I love that they're going for 2 different styles of game in the same game. They have an action game, and then they have a survival horror game, and it's depending on which character you're playing. To me, that sounds incredibly creative, and I'm very much looking forward to that. I don't like gore, but I put up with it for good scares. And the Resident Evil games, the ones that I've played, have never let me down with that. The next one on my list, again, no particular order, Mina the Howler. I'm a huge fan of Yacht Club games. Every single Shovel Knight game that I have played, I have enjoyed the hell out of. I still play Shovel Knight Dig regularly. So this looks like a really, really fun game where you play as this mouse kind of character. Then there's Star Wars Galactic Racer. I'm super excited for that one. Not much for me to say about it because we've only seen like cutscene stuff, but it looks like a racing in a Star Wars universe. Sign me up. Thank you very much. Vampire Crawlers, which is Vampire Survivors as a dungeon crawler. I mean, you don't have to tell me anything else. That just sounds just absolutely amazing. And then the last game on my list as my most anticipated game is Half-Life 3. Half-Life 3, damn it, give us Half-Life 3 right now. I need it, inject it in my veins. Rich, what are your most anticipated games for this year, man?
Okay, so my 2 honorable mentions, one of them will go to Dustbloods, the From Software Switch 2 exclusive.
I forgot about that.
That's supposed to be coming out this year. I don't really get into the From Software multiplayer games, but I want to get into them. I just never do. That multiplayer, I said games, but really it's just the one, Night Rain. But even like just the multiplayer portion of their main games, I kind of just avoid a lot of that. But Dustbloods looks interesting. Night Rain looked interesting, so maybe I'll get a chance to play that. That's an honorable mention. Memories in Orbit is actually coming out soon. I want to say this month. It's a Metroidvania. It looks really nice, and I think it's going to be good. So I'm looking forward to that. And
it's a side scroller, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Side scroller Metroidvania. Yep. And then for the top 5, I have no particular order also. Order of the Sinking Star, which is the puzzle game developed by Jonathan Blow and his team at Tekla. And then there's Marvel Tokon, which is the Sony Marvel fighting game. I'm so hyped for that.
I forgot.
It's going to be good. I can't wait.
Awesome.
I don't know if it's actually coming this year. I believe it's slated for this year, but who knows? So yeah, looking forward to that. Also, Mina the Hollower, Bill, I'm looking forward to that for sure. It gives the demo was super, super good, and it gives like a Link's Awakening, Link to the Past sort of vibe. So I'm here for that. I'm looking forward to Legacy of Atlantis, the Tomb Raider game. That's the remake of, it's the second remake of Tomb Raider 1.
Right.
But I'm into Tomb Raider 1, so I think I'll like it. And then finally, I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna go with Half-Life 3 is towards the top of my most anticipated games. I still have some Half-Lives to finish, but I'm confident that I'll do that before Half-Life 3 comes out.
Very cool. Alan, what do you think, man? What are the big games that you have on your list?
Oh, there's so many. When you asked me this, I was like, holy smokes, I don't know how I'm going to narrow this down. But one thing I do want to mention, Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. Check Steam. The demo is now available if you wanted to check that out.
That's right. Yeah.
Nice.
Your save carries over, plus you get an exclusive skin. So you might want to, or costume rather, for one of the characters. So you may want to check that out just for the demo. And then Half-Life 3 is the other kind of dark horse one that I've been hopeful for years and been burned so many times. So you guys get me hyped about it, but I mean, it's so hard just to remain a level head for that. It's, I don't know. But for my actual top 5, Virtua Fighter 6 is the one I'm looking forward to the most. I think it's supposed, they haven't given an official release date yet, but they hinted it was 2026. So they said it was supposed to reinvent 3D fighting games. No idea what that means, but if it's Virtua Fighter, I'm in. Mina the Hollower is on the list as well. A huge fan of Shovel Knight Dig. And I think this game, like, they've got a lot riding on this game. So I'm hoping that it does well, and I'm hoping it looks great. So that's pretty good. Wolfhound. I don't know if you guys have seen that one. That one looks awesome. You're basically a one-man army. It's a side-scroller, kind of Metroidvania, kind of Contra-ish game. Definitely check out the trailer for Wolfhound. It looks awesome. Don't know when the release date for that one is either. Ace Combat 8, I think, is releasing this year.
Yep.
They announced that one at the Game Awards. And then Grand Theft Auto 6, if it releases this year. There's rumors all over the place, but I'm more interested in seeing how the game does, being one of the most expensive games made of all time. I really want to see how that affects the industry, and I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is how the game is released, what kind of state it's in, how it's perceived, and if game companies take notes from Grand Theft Auto 6 to shape how they make games moving forward, or if it's a colossal flop and changes things that way. So
for GTA 6, I got a quick question for you. How perfect does it have to be for it to be considered sticking the landing?
It's gotta be
there's
perfect.
So much anticipation for the game. How much wiggle room do they have? Do they have any?
I don't think so. Like it's got to be perfect. All the hype surrounding it. I mean, if this thing flops, look at Cyberpunk. There's a great example, and that's a game at such a smaller scale, arguably, in comparison with Grand Theft Auto. When Cyberpunk initially was talked about, everyone was really excited about it. When it came out, it flopped, and it ended up recovering. It took them a while, but it was a running joke for I couldn't tell you how long. So.
Yeah, they actually got Sony to give returns, which is unheard of. What were you saying, Rich?
Yeah, I guess I'll take a bit of a different position. I think Grand Theft Auto. So I'm thinking about like Call of Duties, right? Like it took a while for people to sour on Call of Duty, and I think that Grand Theft Auto has an affordance there, right? It's not that. For example, that those Call of Duty games were bad. They were just like derivative most of the time. And so like, I suppose, yes, if what Rockstar releases is something on the order of like Cyberpunk when it launched, then yeah, it's going to be a rough go. But I think they can release like a something that's 80% as good as GTA 5 and still like sell bananas.
Oh, it's going to sell like bananas no matter what.
It is, but I would politely disagree on the leeway, because if you take a look at the definitive editions for the trilogy there, fans soured on them pretty good for those. Mind you, that not GTA 6, but
point.
at the same time.
Yeah, those were rough. Yes.
Well, let us know in the comments section down below. What are your top 5? They don't have to be in any order, but your top 5 most anticipated games for 2026. And as a special bonus question for you, how well do they have to stick the landing on GTA 6? And do you think it's coming this year at all? Rich, do you think it's coming this year? Yes or no?
No.
Me either. Alan, do you think it's really coming this year?
No. November. No, I don't think so.
Yikes.
We'll see.
By the way, Alan, I looked up Wolfhound. I watched the trailer. I don't remember seeing this at all. It was already on my wish list. I have no idea, but it looks amazing. So yeah, people should be adding this to the wish list for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of the NerdNest podcast. Big thank you to Carrie, aka the Fox, for joining us before he had to head on out. Alan, it's your first time here. You coming back sometime?
Anytime you want me, I'm here. It's a lot of fun if we can make our schedules work. I was, if you saw, I had a dumb smile on the entire time here. I enjoyed this conversation. You guys run a great shop here, and it's a lot of fun.
Wow, there's always an open seat for you, man. Glad to have you on the show. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find all of your stuff? YouTube.com/Mr. Sujano. I do a video every single day with your gaming and tech news wherever I am. So you can see I've got a camping background here, and this is one of the few times I'm using a green screen. Normally it's the real deal. But feel free to check out my stuff, but check out these guys first. Trust me. Well, if
you're not already.
I'm going to make sure that if you guys click on the subscribe button, I'm going to make it so it'll pop up Alan's channel as well as Rich's channel and Carrie's channel, so you can subscribe to everybody through there. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on your favorite podcast player, don't forget to rate the channel, rate the show, and everything. And Rich, are you still on break?
I guess so. So it's always, what happens is I get to Friday, and Friday is really the day that I begin work on like the channel.
Yeah.
So I don't really have an answer until I see what happens this weekend. This weekend I'm actually pretty busy, so I probably won't get anything done. But I do want to throw a shout out to a game called Mate Amorphosis. I'll send you the link, Bill, because it's a weird spelling. But I'll send you the link so you can put it on the show notes. It's a chess puzzle game. There's a demo available. It's $2.30 and it's pretty good. I like it.
I already watched the video because you sent it to me earlier, and it looks really cool. And I have a bunch of these retro handhelds, and there's a friend of mine who so I'm a teacher. There's another teacher at the school that runs the chess club. I thought about getting one of those retro handhelds, throwing that game on there through what's it called? Game Hub. I don't know I don't know how to do that yet, but I thought about running loading it in there on Game Hub and giving it to him so that he could try it out, because he plays video games, but they're like old video games. So he doesn't play any of the modern stuff. So this might, when I told him that Civ 6 was coming out a couple of years ago, I said it's on Steam, and he goes, "I don't know what a Steam is, Bill." And I was like, "Okay, that's fair." So maybe we'll see if I can figure that out for him. But this game looks ridiculous. Basically, when you play, if you're a pawn and you take a rook, you become a rook. And then if you're a rook and then you take a bishop, you become a bishop. And then it's a puzzle game, so you have to work out how to take every piece on the board. I get the feeling that if I play this, I'm going to be I'm too dumb for this.
You don't have to take every piece on the board. You just have to get to the king, but you have a limited amount of moves, right? So let's say you start with 5 moves, and then you can land on tiles that either increase or decrease the amount of moves that you have. So you just got to figure out what piece, if I take, the knight, then can I still get to the king, or do I lock myself out of it? So yeah, there's a lot of different mechanics and stuff like that. It's a short game. There are 64 puzzles, I want to say. I'm about halfway through, and I've spent about an hour. So I want to say the runtime's 2 to 4 hours. But still,
for $2
worth it. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a hell of a deal.
Worth it. Yep.
Bought.
There you go.
All right, that's it for the NerdNest podcast. You guys could have been anywhere for the last hour and a half, but you decided to hang out with us, and I appreciate it. Next time, hopefully we see you there. Stay rad, everybody. Bye-bye.